Now, all right, we got the pleasantries out of the way. We got to the headlines. Now, with the big headline, Tua Tagovailoa had his press conference yesterday, and
looks good with that beard. Let me tell you, I definitely agree with
Austin
Jackson. That's a good look for him.
Tua's
makes him look like he's not 12.
Makes him look like he's not 12. You know, he's got that as he said, a little bass in his voice. A lot of people were saying on Twitter yesterday he sounds just like Russell Wilson. I don't hear it.
Well, we'll find out now with his comments yesterday about maybe he had some lack of knowledge, therefore, for lack of a better term, for the playbook last year.
Well, I think last year for me, last year wasn't, I wasn't as comfortable just in general. I wasn't comfortable calling plays. I think the guys that we had last year were phenomenal. I just didn't have, the comfortability of kind of checking plays, alerting plays, and doing that. I just rode with the play, even if I knew it in a way that it wasn't going to work. I was going to try to make it work still. But the firepower that we have this year, I mean, it's good, but you got to get it out to them too. You're able to protect yourself and then get it out to them, have them make plays, then you'll be good.
So you're saying that there were instances last year where you were executing plays you didn't feel comfortable with, and you didn't feel comfortable checking into other plays, checking out of those plays into other plays.
Actually, what I'm saying is I didn't actually know the playbook necessarily really, really good. And that's on no one else's fault, but my fault. And our play calls were simple when I was in, I didn't have alerts and checks. Whereas now, feeling more comfortable, I can kind of maneuver my way, through these things now.
All right. So there you go. That was the
Would
the
you
last.
like an explanation?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to read into this.
Well, I thought it was I just want to tell you how I heard it, just like because I was watching it live when it happened. Because my first reaction before Omar asked his follow up was, "Well, that sounds like kind of a dig at old Chan Gailey. Didn't exactly love what was happening." And then it almost felt like because Omar asked the follow up question, you kind of saw like the lights go off into his eyes, like, "Oh man, I know how that's gonna sound. Let me take a little bit more of the blame on that." Because I don't want this to be a thing where I'm ripping the old OC, who, by the way, really old.
Not to the level of Fitz.
That guy. And so he took more of the blame. That's the way I read it. But you tell me what you heard me react on.
You're correct to a certain extent. But what I'll tell you is this. The more you play in the league, okay, the concepts are all the same. You're just learning terminology. And so if you talk about a veteran and you have a conversation with a veteran, you hear a veteran say this, it's not about learning the plays and the concepts. It's about learning the terminology for the checkdowns, for all these things. As a young player, you're more caught up in learning the concepts of each play and attacking defenses and identifying defenses and stuff like that. So a coach knows this. So sometimes a coach would try to send in a safer play that takes all of this into account. Not because you're not smart enough to understand the offense, but you're not there yet. And so what Tua is saying is that like I can't explain to you how awkward and uncomfortable it is to be on a football field and know what to do on your play and know how to run the play, but not understand what you're actually doing and why you're doing it. And as a quarterback, it has to be that much tougher. And keep in mind, he didn't have the luxury of having an offseason to be coached through these things.
Not like the level of Fitz.
He's learning this
level of Fitz.
He's learning these things while watching Fitz play.
Right.
So it when he said it, I understood 100% what he was saying. And you can, depending on your offense, you can walk some of your younger guys through this, but at some point, they still have to be able to navigate through these things themselves. And you only get that with reps.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing from him for sure. But I do feel like there was a little I felt like the back end of it was damage control. Like, it was an interesting thing to see. Like, the reaction to that was some people thought, oh, this dude's being, some are saying, oh, well, super honest for not knowing the playbook. Some are saying that's him damage controlling his true feelings on Chan Gailey, and others are saying, why would you want a guy who doesn't know the playbook? It's kind of gone all over the map.
What was he doing for 7 weeks?
It's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as knowing the playbook. Like, you can understand the plays. You can know what to do on every play. Like, you can be in a meeting room and they can tell you, okay, this is what we want to do on this play. But when you only have 40 seconds for all this to compute, and you're just getting into the league, it's a whole different animal. And so what coaches try to do, as they should, is try to put you in a situation where you can comfortably go out and play. Now, I'll say one of the differences between Tua and a lot of other young quarterbacks was, one of the things that helped Justin Herbert was they're a downfield team. Okay? They throw the ball downfield a lot. Another thing that kind of helps a younger quarterback is you kind of run plays to limit their options. So instead of, saying, okay, look the safety off and do this, you'll flood a zone. So you'll have a lot of crossing routes. So you can flood the zone, and the quarterback actually be looking at 3 or 4 receivers on that side, from the back to the tight end to the deep over to the shallow cross. They do stuff like that. But when you notice young quarterbacks, what do young quarterbacks have a tendency to do? Scramble a lot. They're unsure. They tend to run a lot.
Right.
They tend to and so.
And that was a thing on him coming even into the league.
Right. So now, if he's coming into the league, he could be a very smart quarterback, but there's a couple of tendencies you got to break him out of. You got to break him out of holding the ball. You know what he's going through as a young quarterback, and all these things are coming together at one time. So
Robbie,
I 100% understand what the whole situation was, but if there's one thing that they got out of him last year, if there's the one thing, actually 2 things. One, his decision-making was still pretty good.
Mm.
Like, he never panicked. And just threw the ball up. Really? 11-5 says so, Robbie. Regardless of what you think, 11-5 says he made pretty good decisions.
Or he just checked.
That's 11-5, Robbie. The numbers don't lie.
The numbers also don't lie. 6.3 yards per attempt.
Again,
that's not what Leroy's point was.
The point that I made was he made good decisions.
Not at the end. The last 4 games of the season, he led the league in interceptions. That's another solid number. And you know why? All right, finally.
Can I get to my second point? Okay? He made good decisions. And so from that standpoint, that's a positive, because that's one of the things that terrify you with a young quarterback, is that he's going to chuck it up and have a lot of picks. Just look at football. I don't have to tell you. But one of the biggest traits of a young quarterback, they have a terrible touchdown-interception ratio. They all do. The other thing is, he got rid of the ball quicker than he's ever done in his career. As a rookie, as a guy who just started playing the position, there's 2 things. There's 2 things at that position that are sometimes hard for young quarterbacks to learn. And he was able to kind of pick it up, whether you agree with where he was throwing it or not. The point stuck in his head. I got to get this ball out of my hands. I can't sit back here and hold it.
Well, I want to get to some more stuff from Tua because I thought actually even the thing that was even more interesting than the playbook stuff was the talk about his body, and we'll get to some of that coming up next.
So
hey, you remember when I would tell you, and I've said this to you before, Tobin, that you ever watch a football game and a guy looks slow and he's kind of like wandering around the field, like you're like, he's not very good.
Yeah, the last guy I remember saying that about was Kalen Ballage.
But what happens is sometimes you're unsure of what to do.
Yep.
And so you freeze. It happens a lot in the secondary when they have a number of receivers coming their way and they're not familiar with the play schemes or whatever, so they don't know what to do. They freeze. It happens a lot with offensive linemen when it just looks like a guy just ran by him. It happens with running backs when they're pass protecting. It happens in football a lot. And one of the things is it's the uncertainty of not knowing what to do. It happens all the time. And you never had to deal with, having to translate a play in your head that quickly. Because in college, you had all the top athletes on your team and you could kind of just wait until it happened. One of the biggest.
I also think there's going to be a thing too where like learning the translation of it and all that type of stuff. I do think there's probably something to the effect of that. The guy probably didn't think the offensive coordinator believed in him because the offensive coordinator clearly had a guy that he liked being his quarterback more because he's had him in every stop that he's been.
Did you guys hear Amy Lawrence call it to Johnny Manziel?
Yeah, well, I think he's going to get – I do think that Tua is going to get a lot of – because of the way we are, I do think Tua is probably going to get a lot of heat from this because people are only going to see the part where he says, I didn't know the playbook very well.
Right.
That's why I thought it important to play the whole thing because – I thought it was kind of a backtrack out of not trying to dump on his former coach.
No.
That's the way I read. That's the way I read his comments more so than I just didn't know the playbook. But what's going to happen is it's going to be in Bleacher Report and it's going to be all over the place.
They're going to be just as stupid because guess what?
Like if
we all went to college.
Like today on First Take, that's going to be the topic.
You ever read something and didn't quite understand it?
Yeah, bro. It's called philosophy.
Right. But that's my point is that, we live in a world now, everybody wants an honest answer, but nobody wants an honest answer.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You want Tua to be.
And if you're honest, it's excuses.
Right.
I haven't seen the Q&A. I haven't seen the Q&A that Riley's been doing on the chat, but I'm sure that's probably the route that he's
I haven't said that yet. Look,
what Tua said is not unique to Tua. And so we're going to make it, and people are going to make it that because now what you're going to do is, and here's what people are going to do. They're going to say, oh, Tua struggled with the playbook, but Justin Herbert didn't. Joe Burrow didn't.
I didn't say that.
And it would be the single-handed most asinine comment you have heard. Because again, what all these teams tried to do was fix their offense and situate their offense so that their quarterback could go out and relax and play.
If you want to get technical, Burrow and Herbert were forced into action right away. Tua had 7 weeks.
Okay, but I do want to.
7 weeks of what, Robbie?
It's 7 weeks to watch.
You think you can learn how to play football by sitting and watching?
Well, at least learn the playbook.
No, you think you can learn how to play quarterback by sitting and watching?
What were the other guys doing? What was Herbert doing? They were forced into action right away. They had the same no offseason as Tua.
This is why I want to get to this cut before you guys go and box each other's socks off over something crazy. I think one of the big reasons, Robbie,
I'm mad at myself. I'm sorry. I'm mad at myself. You know
why?
Because I know how this actually is. I know how it works. I've seen it firsthand, and I'm having an argument with somebody who doesn't. That's why I'm pissed off.
I want to play this from Tua because as great as the playbook stuff is and all that type of stuff and learning, I mean, I think him revealing this about his hip is honestly the most important thing that was said yesterday out of anything.
I wouldn't say that I focused on just one specific part. I would say it was full body. I wanted to get stronger with my upper body, my shoulders, triceps, biceps, my core. And then, I guess you could say that the focus, if we had leg day would really be the glutes to kind of help support the hip. I think my hip feels 10 times better than it did last year. And, the confidence level for myself, I feel really confident coming into this second year, after that injury 2 years ago.
And to me, that's more important than anything, man.
Yeah.
It honestly is. Like, out of anything, Rob, if you want to talk about like 7 weeks or all that type of stuff, like, dude, if the guy was playing on damaged goods last year and didn't feel up to himself, and we know, and we've heard this from other guys, not just him, like Austin Jackson said this too, just how much of a difference this offseason is just based on a training regimen. If he physically wasn't right last year and you're trying to rehab in a pandemic, if it feels 10 times better, man, like, all right, we can talk about playbook, we can talk about all that type of stuff, but if the guy's body is actually right this year, I think that actually is something that you could say, like, all right, well, we could definitely probably see what the difference is going to be this year, because that was a huge hindrance last year.
There's a phrase
like.
You need to learn here. There is physically healthy to play, which Tua was, and healthy to play like he is now. And structurally, he was healthy. So that means that, he wasn't going to do any more damage. The doctors came to conclusion. He was healthy enough that structurally he wasn't going to go out and put himself in harm's way. However, it's the same thing with knee reconstruction, shoulder reconstruction, that how long when a guy tears his knee up does it take him to really get back?
Right. Yeah, like
he may play in 6 to 9 months. He may play in a year, but it's usually that following year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Joe Burrow struggle a little bit this year.
But they didn't have to play Tua. They had a healthy quarterback.
Okay. But Robbie, they didn't have to. But I guess I guarantee you this team and this organization are farther along because they played. You don't think so? You don't think him getting experience on the football field is put them farther along than if he sat out the whole year?
Well, everybody
you think that the Miami Dolphins would be better off if they sat Tua for a whole year?
But Leroy, you say that all the time. You say that quarterbacks are better off sitting for the whole year, a la Patrick Mahomes.
No. Here's what I said. And I said this. I've said this the whole year. I said, we're sitting here critiquing Tua when before the draft, we assumed he was going to sit for the whole year. Okay? And you have critiqued him more than anybody after thinking he was going to sit for a whole year. So the play that you got out of him this year is merely an experience and a bonus to his career because he wasn't supposed to play.
But if he's also not at a point too, like, what is he going to say? Don't play me? Like,
right.
Like, if he's physically cleared by doctors, but he isn't, all the way back. Like, the guy can't go to Flores and be like, well, I don't know, Flo, I don't think I'm all the way ready back. Like, you're going to say that as a rookie?
Here's the other thing, Robbie.
If you had a sore throat, right, and you had the opportunity at a drive time slot, right, and you had a sore throat, but go, let's see. Hey, Robbie, just checking in. Hey, listen. Hockman and Crowder are out this week. I'd like you to host for, they got I don't know, swine flu. They're going to be out for 2 weeks. I want you to be the afternoon drive host, but you got a little tickle in your throat. You gonna do it or you gonna not do it?
I mean, if it sounds really bad, I'd have to be honest. I have to be like, Glenn, I can't go.
Okay. Whoa, really? You just back out?
I mean, if I saw like that.
Here's when you set up But Robbie, let's get back to this. So you don't think
let Solana have it even with the sore throat?
I mean, I would say, Glenn, I can't do all full 2 weeks. I might need my throat to heal before I could go out there. Maybe to give me a couple days.
He doesn't call back though. What if he goes with Dan Day?
He might not, but I'm going to be honest. and say, "Hey, my throat's."
So Robbie, you're saying that the Miami Dolphins shouldn't feel good about playing a rookie quarterback, him going 6-3, him having 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 63% percentage?
Yeah, 63.
Completion?
Mm-hmm.
63%? You don't think that's a positive?
Yeah, but he also got the 6.3 yards per attempt. You also got him getting benched twice.
But Robbie,
you also had Fitzpatrick saving his ass on one of his wins.
Robbie, are you expecting a perfect quarterback his first time playing?
Not perfect, but look. But no. None of these all these great quarterbacks that played as rookies. All the comment is they never got benched twice in the rookie season. They may have their struggles, but they didn't get benched twice. And now Flores also said the comment that he wouldn't have been benched if he would have been the starter week 1, which Flores is also telling you if Tua was the quarterback week 1, the Dolphins wouldn't have been in playoff contention, and there would have been no need to bench him. That's what Flores is telling you in that quip.
But that's also a push-pull that the Dolphins had to deal with their quarterback situation that no other team did with the rookie quarterback. Like the Bengals didn't care about winning. The Chargers didn't care about winning. Like the Dolphins just happened to be in that spot. I mean, you can question the decision, I guess, if you wanted to just go with Fitzpatrick the whole way, but they decided to go with that in spite of being in contention.
Robbie, here's the caveat. Here's the twist to everything that you're saying. The Dolphins were winning and had a chance to go to the playoffs. And so what Flo did is Flo made decisions based on our team is winning.
Yeah, and what he told you is if Tua was the starter in week 1, they wouldn't be winning.
That's not what he's saying.
He didn't say that. He didn't mean to say that, but
he's basically saying that if Tua was a quarterback from the beginning and they were in a position, he would have been a starter for 10 or 11 plus weeks. Then he would just let him go through his lumps. But the fact that he just
which is a lie.
Started a few. Then why?
If Tua is
it?
Go ahead.
Is there anything that Tua said yesterday that you're like, all right, I'll hear him out?
I mean, like I like that he didn't bash the weapons, but he was trying to take accountability for his poor play.
Yeah, he didn't bash the weapons at all. He took that all on him. But he said. So just the fact that he didn't bash the weapons, you like that level of accountability from him?
I do, but that playbook thing is a sign because look,
no, it's not.
Well, here's why. Because,
Robbie, it happens to all of us.
I want to hear what he has to say on it. Why do you think it's not?
Because this goes back to the days at Alabama. His playbook at Alabama goes
back to Alabama.
Yes, because at Alabama it's what you call fantasy land. For 3 years, it's screen pass to Ruggs, screen pass to Judy, screen pass to Waddle, screen pass to Smith, and then a dump off.
So you picked Tua's in the back in the huddle with a batch of cotton candy.
Yes,
he just he goes, oh, what should I go on today? I should go on the Judia Whirl.
Yes, it is. This is like Disney World, okay. Ruggs Land,
the Ruggs roller coaster. I think you muted yourself, Leroy. Yeah,
you're still muted.
J-Fig, did you mute him? Did you mean to mute Robbie?
No, he definitely muted himself.
I don't have that power. I can't control that. I can't mute Leroy.
Go to your stream feed and unmute yourself.
I can't.
That's where it is.
You see, I think
we'll take a.
I got it. So Robbie, by any chance, did you hear what Tom Brady said about learning the new playbook in Tampa?
No, what? I mean, look, it's hard. Look, the NFL playbook is harder than the college. That's.
I didn't hear what he said. What did he say?
He basically said early on in the year that he was just reading the plays. He was really uncertain as far as it took him a while to understand the concepts and whatever. And basically early on in the year, he wasn't checking. He was just looking at the play and going with the play. As time went on, and as you could see, as the team started getting better, it was, one of the indications was he was starting to pick up on the playbook a little bit better.
But Tom Brady didn't have an offseason to get ready for the playbook.
He's been a quarterback for 20 years, Robbie. Now make that quarterback a quarterback for 5 seconds.
I think he has a similar look. You got Minka Fitzpatrick, who came from Fantasyland, and then after 1 year of real world, he quit. There's a trend here.
But everybody kisses his ass and says he's great.
Robbie,
but he's a quitter.
This is all fine and great. How you feel, okay? But we have an actual tape of you saying that this quarterback was in the Alabama system.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter.
And I was
Doesn't
wrong.
matter.
I've admitted to being wrong about that several times.
Why would you have so little faith?
Because
Why would you be rats off a ship off a take from 5 games?
Because it's what happened. It happened with Minka Fitzpatrick. You got him and then a year later.
Wait.
But Robbie, everybody thinks Minka's good. Like,
Yeah,
even,
but
even with him quitting, people think he's a good player.
Okay, but the problem with these Alabama players, they come in from fantasy land, they come in super entitled, think everything's going to be easy, and when they face real world problems, they quit. Tua, obviously, with the playbook, and then that's why I had these issues with these.
Derrick Henry.
What Derrick Henry did?
Derrick Henry.
It's not all the Alabama.
Julio Jones.
Those guys are ballers. Those guys balled out that's why I had.
You can't pick and choose.
I don't know. Which one? Is there an error cut off?
Here's the deal. Robbie gets to pick and choose which Alabama players does and which aren't.
Those guys.
For the last 4 years, Robbie, you have been praising Alabama players and saying I want this guy. I want this guy.
No.
What about the linebacker? We should have got him.
Look, I like Surtain. Look, the reason why I had issues with these Alabama players not running the 40 is because they had a little Minka Fitzpatrick in them. That is a sign. Oh, these guys think it's fantasy land.
That's it.
You think that's part of the scouting report, Leroy?
This
is
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Like Derrick Henry and Julio Jones, those guys balled out in workouts. Derrick Henry.
Because they ran the 40.
They did all the workouts. The only reason Derrick Henry fell in the draft was because of his usage at Alabama. He was getting 42 carries.
But then it doesn't matter because you could just dump him after 5 games because of your
like
pre-draft evaluation.
I like the way you pick and choose which Alabama players are products of the Alabama system and which players are ballers.
Yeah, but even with him saying, like, I think you could hear based on his evaluation of it, he wasn't happy with last year. I don't think anybody sits here on this show and should say that Tua had a great rookie season.
I'm not saying
fine.
That.
It was fine.
I'm
but
not
I do
saying that.
But
I'm saying
but me hearing him, I think being the most revealing about his injuries last year or what his physical state was, that to me was the most interesting thing I didn't, because I kind of expect all the other stuff. Like, I expect a rookie quarterback to struggle with decision making or knowing the playbook, and especially when he's got a tapioca eating geezer calling plays for him who clearly loves Mr. Mascot with his Hawaiian shirts and his stupid beard way more than the other guy. I mean, it was so clear that Chan Gailey was in the bag for Ryan Fitzpatrick and was trying to sabotage Tua. That's another story for another day. But when I hear Tua say my hip is 10 times better than it was last year and that he's not going to be throwing with all – do you have to think about him throwing with his arm, Robbie? Because he was saying yesterday that by the end of last year, Leroy, he was just – or not even just the end of last year, but last year he was an all-arm thrower, and now he's going to be and I think that probably had to do with how his body was feeling, which sounds like it was not that great. Now he says that it's not going to be like that this year.
To be honest, I wasn't worried about my hip last year. I wasn't necessarily thinking of it while I was making throws or was on the run making throws. I just think that coming into this year, just throwing isn't as much arm this year as it was last year. It's kind of everything, using my legs, using my core, and then the arms just following. Very similar to golf, but yeah.
He's like a Tua DeChambeau.
I get, like, first of all, I can't understand how anybody could be unhappy with his first year because it was his first year. And the only reason why I said it, I'm not saying you can be like, this is the finished product. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not even saying that you can take those numbers and say he's going to be the quarterback here for the next 10, 15 years. I'm not saying it at all. But if you've watched football, based on what you've seen from rookie quarterbacks in the past, there's a couple of positives you can pull from that. If you choose to. Okay? Because one of the things about young quarterbacks is usually their yards per attempt is not very high, because when they come into the league, the first thing they preach is get the ball out of your hands. Okay? But the one thing you can hang your hat on, that is a fact, is that if you look at what rookie quarterbacks have done, Tua's decision-making based on his numbers, touchdown to interception ratio, his decision making may be better than a lot of guys that came before him.
Also the weapons got way worse with Tua as the quarterback,
Right.
to the point where the Dolphins had to overpay for Jalen Waddle. Now, Leroy, you say he should get better in his second year, but if Tua's going to get better in his second year, the weapons with Fitzpatrick will prove it to be fine. Why do you need to go out and overpay for Jalen Waddle when Tua's going to naturally get better?
Robbie, you can look at saying the stats were fine, but one of the reasons that Ryan Fitzpatrick got benched is because he couldn't finish off drives in the red zone. Like, it wasn't like he just got benched simply because they were just like, nah, let's go with Tua.
Well, it was, Tua
like,
came in the game.
He had his own shortcomings with the weapons as it was anyway too.
But Tua came in the game, that last game against the Jets, threw a couple passes. The crowd was there. And then you had that bye week.
You want to know why? We were excited to watch the number 5 pick. Like, why are you acting like that's a surprise?
And then,
weren't go back and listen to the show after Tua's 2 passes against the Jets.
Forbid
and
that.
tell me you weren't excited
I
that
was.
Tua was in the game.
And then
you were.
And then
you weren't saying. None of us were saying, hey, these weapons with Ryan Fitzpatrick. You weren't saying that until the Bills game. All these weapons with Ryan Fitzpatrick, way better. We were like, good. Get that old kook out of here.
We weren't complaining about the weapons in 2019, as disastrous of that season as that was.
Because they were all healthy.
There weren't any weapons, dude. Like, who was the guy we were getting excited about was who? Preston Williams?
I mean, Devontae Parker at 1,200 yards.
In the last 5 weeks, he went and like we were making fun of Kenyon Drake for tweeting out that he was the league leader in rushing yards for the last 5 weeks of the season. But that's basically what Devontae Parker did in his only good year with the Dolphins.
And then Tua came in, he threw those 2 passes, and then of course he had the convenient bye week afterwards. Like, oh wow, we already saw Tua on the field. We have this bye week coming up. Let's put him in.
You know, Devontae Parker in that year was on a make good deal, basically. Like, they were going to cut his ass, and they basically gave him an all incentive based contract. Like, this is not a guy who's proved himself to be an elite receiver.
And then the eye look, maybe it was the weapons, but then the eye glaring tape was that Raiders game when Tua was sticking up the joint, and then okay, maybe it's the weapons, and then Fitzpatrick comes in the game and it's like
But this goes back to Flores' point though. If the Dolphins were never in contention, he's probably not making that move because he probably does let him ride out the game if it doesn't matter.
If Tua was a starter in week 1, they're not in contention.
Robbie, what's the number one responsibility of a head coach?
To win the game.
Okay.
I'm not blaming Flores for benching Tua. He had to do what he had to do.
You're blaming Tua for being a rookie?
I'm blaming Tua for sticking up the joint and forcing him to come in with Fitzpatrick.
But Robbie, my only concern with this, you can feel however you want about Tua. I don't have a problem with that. But the fact that you feel this strongly about him as a rookie, wait, has there been any rookies that went 15 and 16 and 0?
Not 16 and 0.
So they've all
Roethlisberger
had
went 15 and 1.
They've all, and it wasn't because of him. Go look at those numbers.
They were better than Tua's.
They've all had stretches.
I think he had 8 yards at attempt his rookie year.
They all had stretches during the season where they've done this. All of them.
8.9 his rookie year, Ben Roethlisberger.
All of them. Robbie, all of them have had stretches where you go, look, he's a rookie.
Look, I wasn't going to move on from Tua for, say, Trey Lance or Mac Jones. Like, I'm going to you have to begrudgingly give him the second year, but I'm not. Look, after watching Tannehill.
Begrudgingly?
Yeah.
Unless you're getting Trevor.
So if you could, you would just, if there was a quarterback available, you would have taken another quarterback.
I would have had conversations about Justin Fields.
No,
but not about.
You would have taken Justin Fields if he was available.
He was available at 6.
No, but you would have taken it.
I would have had conversations. I would have talked about it.
No,
what is that
the
conversation?
question is, would you have taken him or not?
Just throwing it out there.
I mean, I probably would have taken Sewell before I took Fields. But
oh my God, you know, you want to know something though? I've thought about that with you with the Penei Sewell thing. Like, what a bad you talk about bad looks as a GM. Like, you took an alignment in the first round last year. I think that's a horrible look for you to go and take another one top 6.
Well, you could do that with linemen. Like, I mean, the Cowboys have loads with first-round offensive linemen. You can't do that with wide receivers, which is what Detroit did in the past, and that was their formula for going 0-16.
Why do you take the history? Look, the success. Let's say this.
We do.
The success rate of a first rounder is 45 to 50%.
For all first rounders.
Huh?
For all first rounders, regardless of position.
Right, regardless of position. Right? The actual one of the least successful positions is offensive lineman.
It's not worse than wide receiver. And by the way, the stat I showed you. That was
the stat that you showed me was the success is 6% difference.
But that was specifically for offensive tackles.
You guys are both referring to something that nobody knows what you're talking about because you guys texted about this. So you guys kind of got it. You can't just drop that stuff out of the sky.
We got a break.
We got to reset. We can do it next hour. But like I'm just saying, you guys are bringing up stuff that nobody knows what you're talking about when it comes to draft charts and all that type of stuff. Which, by the way, maybe we got to put you guys on Do Not Disturb.
I don't.
When it came to that,
you were sending Romo
draft charts. Moon.
You were sending Romo texts.
Well, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the idea that the Cowboys fans are offended that somebody else gets number 9. I mean, the dude snapped the ball into his face. Get the hell out of here.
I probably should have just texted Leroy straight up and left you out of it, but I've never texted Leroy individually. Everything I say to Leroy, I say to the group.
You think it's gonna get it? You're gonna get a who dis?
No, because he wants proof. He wants evidence.